This is Hannibal here from the Hannibal TV on YouTube. And earlier today, there's been a picture going around of Mercedes Monet, former Sasha Banks, with a fan behind her. And I guess this got on AEW cameras saying Mercedes Monet is overpaid, and overrated. And that made me look up actually how much she is paid because there was some questions whether it was 4 or 5 million. And according to Elon Musk's Grok tool, which by the way is right more often than is wrong on a lot of information, it's actually 5 million that she makes. Where is it here? Which is similar to what Chris Jericho makes. Now Mercedes Monet wrestled a lot less than Chris Jericho. I will have to say, as over the hill as Jericho is these days, he's better known worldwide than Mercedes Monet, and he works a lot. He wrestles a lot to earn his money, and he contributes a lot. Apparently, they both also have creative control in their contract. There's a lot of similarities to AEW and WCW. One of the common terrible things in a lot of cases for WCW was giving so many wrestlers creative control, which is also something that they do in AEW. But let me get into a lot of the AEW talents reported pay, which I would say it's safe to say that their pay overall in most cases is close to what these Grok amounts are. I would honestly say that. There was one that I'll get to that seems questionable, but overall they seem fairly realistic. Let's look at John Moxley's. And I had already heard this. Apparently his annual salary is about 6 million. And again, I don't think this includes merchandise sales or anything. He only had 24 matches for AEW in 2024. He made $6 million. And he was advertised for every single 2024 AEW Canadian show, and he didn't show up to any of them, and there was about 10 of them. I wonder why they're not coming back to Canada this year. Is it because they false advertised so many wrestlers last year? Well, not only did they not get the greatest crowd, but they false advertised every single Canadian show. Now let's get into the one. I think this is it here. Yeah, MJF's. This is the one that seems like the outlier because this goes off of AI, all AI reports. I did hear that MJF was re-signed last year, got an AEW tattoo. He actually only wrestled 4 times last year for AEW. Now I don't know if I believe this, but according to Grok, and this is because Jonathan Coachman apparently said this. I mean, they're reporting that he could make as much as 15 million a year. I don't know about that. I would guess he's making at least 5 million a year, and they hired his girlfriend Alicia Atut. Either way, he's getting paid a hell of a lot, and he only wrestled 4 times for AEW. And to be honest, let's face the facts here. Ratings and attendance in AEW is in the crapper, and it's showing no signs of improvement. I mean, I don't necessarily have issues with them paying these wrestlers so much, other than it's like they don't make them earn it. Like he wrestled 4 times last year. I don't think he's ever wrestled on a Collision or a Rampage. If you're going to pay someone that much, make them earn it. But again, I would suspect it might be closer to 5 million. That's the one outlier. But again, it's going on all reports. Okay, we did this one. Okada uh, could be making as much as 4.5 million a year. He only wrestled about 15 times for AEW last year. This guy is one of the biggest wastes of money It's at like he's not over to the point where he should be earning anywhere near 4.5 million a year. Nakamura is better known worldwide than Okada. I'm sorry. I mean that's just a horrible waste of money. Will Osprey. Now again, he was offered from WWE and AEW. He chose AEW. They're pushing him. I think he wrestled 30-ish times for AEW last year. He's making at least $1 million a year, and he gets to still live in Europe. I mean, I don't like the flips and the leg slapping. I don't find him to be a realistic wrestler, but I don't find that to be an outlandish salary because he is actually they are using him, and it's a lot less than Okada, and he's better known than Okada. The Young Bucks, while they don't have an exact number, they are the highest paid, guaranteed highest paid money tag team of all time. Swerve Strickland, this one's a crazy one. And I do know this one is true because I know someone that helped negotiate this, and he's been on worldwide tours. He's traveled around the world. He goes on cruises, he's constantly traveling. And I know he gets a cut of this. And his priorities seem to have changed since he started to get a cut of this big Swerve Strickland money. And good for them. I'm not complaining about that, but supposedly he was making more than Kevin Owens was making in 2022, which I think Kevin Owens just re-signed for 5 years. So this isn't necessarily what Kevin Owens is making now, but Swerve Strickland is supposedly making more, as much as more than 3 million a year, which is crazy. And apparently WWE has even hinted that they paid way over market value for Strickland, which I honestly don't know. Other than his agent must be a hell of a negotiator to get that guy so much money because he's he's talented. He's not over to the level of a top guy at all. Here's a guy that deserves it. Okay, this is definitely overpaid for what he does, but he earned the right to make this money, unlike a lot of people in AEW. Jim Ross supposedly making at least 600,000, possibly more than that, for his sporadic AEW appearances. He's paid his dues. He's earned that. He could be advising them, but they don't seem to take any of his advice. So he's collecting his paycheck, and good for him. Paul White, this is a huge waste of money. Paul White, who in my opinion was most over when he was the Giant in WCW, is like one of the most overrated and boring wrestlers of all time, in my opinion. He's been making 850,000 annually. All I remember him doing for AEW was at one point he was a commentator and not a very good one. I honestly think this is one of the biggest wastes of money. He says he loves working there. Of course, he's not paid anything. Brian Danielson reported to be making around 2 million a year. That one I'm not going to complain about. He's paid his dues. I'm sure he's contributing in a lot of ways. Kenny Omega, 3 million. He was one of the founders. I'm not going to complain about that. And I didn't copy the Jake the Snake one, but supposedly he could be making somewhere between 400,000 and 600,000. Jake the Snake in AEW for whatever it is he does in AEW. He's paid his dues. So whatever. Whether I mean, if they're going to throw money away on so many undeserving people, I'm not going to complain at all if they want to pay Jake the Snake between $400,000 and $600,000 to do nothing. Good for him. He he's paid his dues. He may as well collect from this guy that makes Eric Bischoff look like a penny pincher.